Hey everybody, thank you for watching this video, which is part 13 to my 3D Studio Max series for beginners. In this video, we will be covering maps, at least the basics of the maps, the ones that you need to know to make your own projects on your own, so beginner status, but it's super important. Alright, so let's go ahead and dive in. Let's go ahead and make a box in our scene. Blah. I'm just going to line it up just for the fun of it. And let's make it a thickness of that, just because I feel like it. Let's right click in our perspective view and bring this full screen by clicking or holding Control W, or Alt W, I'm sorry. Okay, now I'm going to go and just press Z to Z up here, and we have a pretty nice view of our box, which works great. Alright, so let's go ahead and press M to bring up the material editor here, and we have a 3x6 or a 3x2 view to have a total of 6 different textures that we can actually make here. We're only going to be playing with about maybe 1 or 2 of them today, and I'm going to be covering 4 different map types in this video, so prepare for possibly a long video. In this video, we're going to be going over 4 different map types. The first is diffuse, then bump, next is reflection, and last, opacity. Okay, so let's go ahead and apply this texture to our box. So now we have a gray box. Now, you remember that we can change the color by jumping on the diffuse tab here, or diffuse icon there, and changing it up and blah blah. Now, what if you want to make this look like a certain kind of something like in real life? Well, I'm going to show you that right now. If we go down a little bit, you'll see a section called Maps. Open that up. Great. Now we have a bunch of things here that you may not have seen before, or maybe you have. I don't know. The first thing we're going to do is go over the diffuse color. Now this is going to add a color to your object, and it's going to give it the color of an image that you pick. So let me go ahead and show you what I mean here. Let's go to diffuse color and click none. Depending on what you're doing in your project, I should say. Not always. You're not always going to use bitmap. You may need a checkered flooring or whatever. Me, I'm going to use bitmap. Alright, so now what we can do here is actually select an image or a video if you have one in AVI format. I actually have a JPEG image here, which I conveniently named diffuse map. Let's go and select that and click open. Great. Alright, so if I go ahead and make my thumbnail into a square or a box cube thing and double click it, I have a bigger view of what my material looks like. And if I go ahead and enable this in my viewport, you'll be able to see what's going on. Alright, Jerry, I don't very much see my texture applied here on my box. So, let's go ahead and click this button here, which is Show Standard Map in Viewport. Boom! There you go. Now you can see that map right there in your project in the viewport, and it works out great. Okay, so we have this material applied, okay? And everything is looking pretty great up this point, except a few things. If this picture or this box was really wood, it's probably a bad example. This image is probably a bad example. You can go ahead and search like textures or something, or texture images or something into Google, and you'll get a huge library of images. But in my case, copyright reasons, I had to use my own image. Anyways, so as you can see here, I have like a wood plank here, a piece of wood, and it doesn't look very nice because I don't know about you, but my pieces of wood don't actually have backgrounds like that. I don't know. So what we're going to do is actually crop these things out. And if you notice, this is blurred and this is blurred. When I was taking this picture like a few months back, I was actually messing with the depth of field. So I need to crop it out and only get about this part of the image, which is the most clear part in that image. So let's go over. I can get rid of this preview there, and if I go to view image, we can actually see the image that is being used in a nice big preview here. I'm going to apply a cropping / placement thing there. Great. And now every time I move these red, these like vertices, it looks like it's a vertex point there, vertex point. If I move that down, you can see it changes on our object. Okay, so let's go ahead and change it to where it's most clear. And I'm going to change this one where it's most clear. Great, and I'm going to actually bring this one down some. Alright, that looks about good. I have a nice piece of wood there that is not showing any of that. Great, so there's our piece of wood. Looks a little more, looks better, right? Alright, so there you go. That's how you pretty much apply a diffuse map to your object, or your, object. Great. Let's go ahead and add something called a bump. Now, if you ran your fingers across this piece of wood in real life, it would not be smooth as it appears here on this object, right? It would actually be, well, bumpy, and it would probably give you splinters or something. Let's go ahead and apply a bump map to this. Let's go back to our parent by going right here. This will bring us back. And you can see we have a bump map right there. I'm going to copy this diffuse color down by clicking, dragging down to bump, and going to instance. And now we actually have a bump map applied. So if I go ahead and open up our thumbnail image here, and bring this up to, like, let's say 80 just for example purposes, or 107, you can see it, gets all crazy like that. If I take bump off, you see it gets all smooth looking. Bump on, see the difference, okay? Alright, that's a little too much bump, I would say. So I'm going to bring this down to maybe about 60, and I mean, whatever, but that's fine. So now if you render this out, it wouldn't look so smooth. And like I said, this is probably not the best image to use as an example. So bear with me here. You can get way better effects if you have a pure black and white image with really dark blacks and really light whites, or a white and a black. And yeah, I say that because when you apply a bump map, what it does is it gets the image that you use and it makes the black colors, it pushes those black colors in, and the white colors get pushed out. I don't know if you can tell right here, but this white paint, it's actually getting pushed out of the image. So that's just so you know how bump maps work. So you can easily go into Photoshop, make a black and white image, and turn the black colors super black and the white colors super white, and you'll get a really amazing effect in 3D Studio Max when you apply the bump map. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. That's pretty much how you apply a bump map and a diffuse map. Okay, great, diffuse color. Also another shortcut if you want to apply diffuse color. See this diffuse right here? You can actually click this little box on the side. Click it and it'll bring you to the same thing. So let me go ahead and show you here. Let me right click and clear this map. Okay, diffuse, click this little square there, and see it brings up the same thing as clicking this none button. Click bitmap and go select it and yada yada. And so there you go. And then apply this show standard map in Viewport, and there you go. You'd have to crop it again and do all that stuff, but that's pretty much what goes on. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and reset this so I can give you 2 more examples of maps. I'm going to show you these 4 because they're the most pretty much important ones, like I said before, and well, let's do this thing. I'm going to make a box. Great, I don't need it very thick or thin, thick, so I'm just going to make it like that, whatever, it's just for example, and I'm also going to make a sphere right there. Great, I'm going to move this up some, again using all my viewports to take advantage of how I'm moving these objects. Great, yeah, because I am kind of OCD-ish right now, I'm going to scale this up a bit. Okay, great. Perspective view, full screen, zip if you want, can orbit around, do all that jazz. Let me go ahead and duplicate this. W, shift, I'm going to hold shift and hold down a stick and move it. There we go, we've duplicated that. Click copy, great. Now, jump up on the material editor again, and really quick, I'm going to apply an opacity map here. Applied it to that box, and I'm going to change the color of this really quick to that kind of green. That works great. Let's go to maps, and let's jump up on the opacity, click none, and in this case, I'm going to click checker. I mean, it works with a bitmap, works fine. Same thing happens, it uses the white and black colors to define how powerful the effect is. So let's click checker, great, and if we look here in our thumbnail, we can see, we have a 1x1 tiling effect. If I bring this to, let's say, 5x1, you can see how it changes that there, in a 5x5 looks like that. We can even bring out, the square look, so we can get an idea of what it'll look like. Let's go ahead and render this out, and you'll see, well, that's what it looks like. Okay, Great. And you see the other ball is down there as well. The one I copied is right there. So that's how that works. And if I apply this, actually let's go back to the parent and apply this, shows standard map in Viewport, whatever, you'll see you can actually see the result right there. I mean, whatever. It gives you an effect. You know, it doesn't look the best. You don't. I personally would not work in this kind of look. That's why you have the option to put it on and off. So whatever. Where would the opacity map come in play? Well, if you've ever played video games or something, and I don't know if they do this now, but I know before what they would do is, let's say you take a character's hair. If you've ever seen it move in chunks and it doesn't move individually, like strand-wise, this is why. All they do is get a few polygons or possibly one big slab of polygon, and they make that move. And instead of, you know, modeling out all the little individual pieces of hair, all the strands, what they do is they just apply a opacity map. So you know, the white strands would be in white. You know, it looks something like that. You know, that's what the hair would look like, and everything else would be knocked out because it would be black, and it just would not show up when they render that scene out in the video game. So that's how that works. That's where opacity maps come in place. And you know, you can, if you for some reason can't model something out a certain way, try using an opacity map. It may work. Try to use these things to your advantage, guys. Okay, you know, it's all tricks, eye tricks. It's all program tricks, okay, to get the effects that you want. All right, so I'm gonna take the opacity map off. So if I render this again, you'll see that it's back there. Everything's great. All right, let's go ahead and add a reflection. Okay, I want to reflect this ball off of this square. Let me go and delete this just because I can. Let's go ahead and make it so where I can see the ball off this square here. First thing I want to do is actually, you know, change the speck level and glossiness some. I like to use more like the balls to check out how glossy I'm making this thing. So I'm using a combination of this graph and this preview to see how glossy it's going to be. Great. Now what I need to do is go ahead, jump up on the reflection map, click none, and for reflection, what you can use is something called ray trace. You can use something called ray trace, which is pretty much something that Max conveniently places in your toolbox, and it uses a mathematical algorithm to create reflections based off things in your scene. So let's double click on ray trace, and just like that, you now have reflections. Let's go ahead and render this out, and look at that, we have a reflection of that ball. Let me go ahead and zoom in some and render this out again. Look at that. We have a reflection of that pink ball that you made. It works really well. Now the thing is, reflection can kind of turn out looking like a mirror if you're not careful. So what I like to do is mess around with the reflection, and I like to start out around 20. Depends on your object, of course, but 20, and then I like to go down from there. So if that's too powerful for the certain object that I'm going to make, I'll bring it down to 10. And, you know, I mess around with the reflection a lot. A combination of all of these maps, that and the speck and glossiness levels here, that right there is really what makes your objects look real, and that is the secret to all the professional work out there. That and also different renderers and stuff. So there you go. If you're gonna take this 3D stuff serious, you might want to dive into the material editor some and teach yourself some awesome things, or you know, look up other advanced tutorials on YouTube. Alright, so there we go. That is pretty much everything I wanted to show you. We went over the diffuse maps, we went over the bump maps, the reflection maps, and the opacity map types, I should say. So there you go. I think I went over the bare basic kind of things. Yeah. So thank you for watching this video. Please thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. Remember to check out the next part of this series.